in sales, you cannot avoid this challenge. And everybody's looking at me going like, what's this guy talking about? And the answer is, hold a second, make sure we can follow the flames. The challenge is more sales. Everybody wants more sales. It's never enough, no matter how much sales you do in the sales business. We're a hungry group. Some people are hungry because they need to put food on the table. Some people are hungry because of the challenge. At the end of the day, we all want more sales. So what I want to do is I want to break it down. I want to break it down a little bit. There's 5 levels to this challenge. Let me just go back to this for 1 minute, because at the end of the day, every single salesperson gets stuck at this point. We all want more, and we need to break it down. So let's break it down to a couple of points. Number 1, the sales funnel. Okay, prospecting. They're fancy words. We hear it all the time. The sales funnel, prospecting. At the end of the day, what does it really mean, and what can we do about it? Okay, that's really what it is. How to keep the targets, your clients, the people you're going after, how to keep that basket full, so we'll always have somebody to go to. Number 2, this is just breaking down the more sales thing. Number 2 is cold calling. I have yet to meet somebody who loves this, who looks forward to, I can't wait till I pick up the phone call and call somebody who's never met me before to try and sell him something that he doesn't even know he needs, or even if he knows he needs it, right? Nobody likes to do this, but it's a very necessary part of sales, okay? In general, salespeople are very, very creative in avoiding the cold call. If we would only apply that ingenuity that we used to avoid cold calling into actually making the calls, we'd be tremendous. We'd be tremendously successful. One hint, just on a side note, instead of thinking of it as a cold call, see if you can turn the cold call into what's called a warm call. We'll get into that in a few minutes. Number 3, there's struggles. We all face struggles. We face internal struggles, whether it's within your company or within yourself. Company is, we don't have enough products, or this is slow, that's slow, my boss is not guiding me, I don't have the proper advertising. There's a lot of different struggles that we have internally as far as your company or your product from your side of it. The other thing is external struggles. We have distractions. We have many, many other things that are going on that, I'm having a bad day. It's not working, etc. And then we also have a third thing called systemic. I don't like my boss, my manager is beating me up. All these things are all basically classified as struggles. Everybody faces it, we all do it. Okay. We'll get into it in a few minutes. I'd love to hear if you guys, if everybody here can write down on their own sheet of paper 2 things that they consider their number 1 and number 2 struggles that they're facing. Write it down on a piece of paper. We'll get to it in a few minutes. Okay. The 4th thing we face, competition. On one word about competition, if we don't have it, we're not in business. Okay. But at the end of the day, competition is something we face. So I'm going to throw out a question over here also. You don't have to write it down, but this is something for you to think about in your own head. How well do you know your competition? And what I mean is not know, you know who their company is. But how well do you know them, what they offer, what they do, etc. That'll be something that'll help you very far. The more you know them, the better you are. And the number 5 thing is objections. We all face objections. We face objections with the client who doesn't want to hear about you, doesn't want to talk about you, doesn't want to move things forward. We have things who, I want to sell you this. I don't want that. I don't want to buy it from you. There's objections. They come in many, many different forms. So the question is like this. With objections, and again, we'll get to that in a few minutes, but objections, think of it as this way. If a client, customer, or whatever has objections, I'm going to say a big word out here, and some of you might not like it. That's on you. Objections is on you 100%, and we'll dig down into it a little bit later. But at the end of the day, let's get real. You're all here taking time out of your day. Let's get real. Few things that we really, really need to keep. Let's bring this up. I have a question for everybody, and I'd like if people could just raise their hand. This is for yes, this is for no. We're not going to take a poll, but I want you to think about it for yourself. Number 1, the bad phone call or the bad meeting. Does it exist? Have any of you had a bad meeting or a bad phone call? Does such a concept exist? Okay, we have 1, 2. I can't see everybody, but the idea is, does it exist? Okay. Remind me, and all those yeses, remind me. We'll talk about it in a few minutes also. A second thing, let's talk about the not the best day. We all have bad days. We all have days that are not going the way it is. Suggestions, sometimes when you're really having a bad day, there's two ways to handle it. Three ways to handle it. One, power through it. Number two, you know what? Take a break. Number three, take a break, but then power through it. We all have bad days. Recognize you're not the only one who's having a bad day. The difference between those who are really skilled, those who really, quote, get the job done, and those who doesn't, are not those who don't have a bad day. It's the ones who have a bad day and know how to overcome that. The objector, I'm going to go back to it. The objector is, that's on you. Simple as that, okay? Because objections, there's a difference between questions and objections. When a client is questioning you, that's not an objection. Many people take it as an objection. Questions should get answers. Objections, that's on you, and we'll get into that in a minute. And then motivation. Number 5 is motivation, especially those who are work from home, don't have somebody really pushing them, coaching them, et cetera, et cetera. People who are sort of left to their own here, sell. It's very hard to keep motivated, especially now in COVID when a lot of people are working from home. It's very hard to be motivated. Okay, so this is, but I'll tell you one thing on motivation. It's like a shower. You need it every day. I didn't coin that phrase, but it's a shower. You need it every single day. You have to figure that out, whether it's with a coach, whether it's with somebody to give you a good word, whether it's a manager, et cetera, et cetera. You need to be motivated. And if you're not motivated, that's something you have to address, okay? Now let's go back to the sales funnel, these 5 levels to the challenge. And this is where we're really going to get interested, okay? The answer to all 5 challenges, I'll go back to it. Sales funnel, prospecting, cold calling, struggles, competition, objections, all of those. The answer is 2 words, 3 letters. Each word has 3 letters. The answer is why and how. And many of you have heard it. It's very famous. It's been out there. Somebody wrote a book similar. I took that and I gave it a little bit of a twist. And the question is, you have to change how those words are used. What's going on here? Okay. Why? When you're speaking to a client, the question that's going on in their mind might be going on in their mind. It might be something that they're actually asking you, but always know this. They have a question. Why? Why should I buy your product? Why should I deal with you? Why do I need this? Why? All these whys. If you can turn that why into a statement, this is why you should buy. This is why you need. This is why you should deal with me. All that, you've already taken away half the challenge. Think about yourself, and I'm going to tell you, there's a couple of tips coming at the end that will help reinforce this. The second word, so number 1 is why. Why should they deal with you? Why do they need your product? Why do they want to do with it? Turn that into a statement. That's something you can say without being pushy. Hey, we have great kitchen cabinets, and you could really use the increase in the value of your home, in the comfort of your home. You take away that question mark, why, you're ahead of the game. The next thing is how. They want to know how. How does this work? How is this going to help me? How is this going to enhance my life? If you can tell them this is how it's going to work, this is how it's going to enhance your life, this is how it's going to work, that is the key. Because let's go back, right? And now we'll apply it to the things we said before. Your sales funnel, your prospecting. When you're talking to people, think about, why do you want to speak to a specific person? Why do you need to have a sales funnel, right? If you can turn it, even for yourself, turn the question mark, the why, to yourself into a statement. Why? This is why I need to prospect. I need to have more people. If I speak to 25 people, maybe 1 will be a client. I need to keep that full. I need to keep that list full so I can have clients. Answer that for yourself. Cold calling. Why do I cold call? How else am I going to meet people? Let me see if I can turn it into a warm call, which we'll get into in a few minutes if you want. Struggles. Why am I struggling? Turn it into, instead of why is it not working? Let's talk about it. Why is it not working? And then you turn it into how. How can I overcome this? Competition. Why are people coming to my competition? Why is my competition making me uncomfortable? Why is my competition getting the business? Answer that for yourself. Turn it. This is why. This is why they're doing what they're doing. And then you can turn and learn it. And objections. Why are they objecting? And how? Right? So that's again, this is little tidbits of information, just planting seeds. There's no one recipe. These are things you must keep in mind. But it's really, I've done it a lot, and it really does work. We all know the famous of the famous movie, Wolf of Wall Street, I think it was, where they were sitting in a restaurant. And the guy says, "Here, you're a good salesman. Sell me the pen, right? Sell me the pen." You all know it. And he went into a nice hustle. I remember the question. I don't remember the answer, and I really should go back and re-see it just because it was really brilliant. It was a very good sales moment. I'll just tell you like this, right? When you're going to a client and you're trying to sell them something, think of it. They're looking at you like you're trying to sell them this pen, right? I'll give you one hint. It's not about the pen. I actually had an exercise this morning with a salesperson who I showed him this slide. Tom, what do you think of this? So he said, okay, interesting. So I gave him the pen. I said, I'm going to sell you this pen now. And he looked at me like I was crazy. It's a cheap 2-minute pen, right? And he has a dozen pens over there. I said, what happens if I told you, if you sign this check, I'm going to give you now for $10,000, but this is the only pen you can have it. Would you buy it? He said, yeah, of course. My point is, it's not about the pen. It's about what does the person need. It's not about what you're selling. It's about what the person needs, right? So just keep, again, seeds planted. We can dig into any one of these things when I'm finished with my presentation. I'd much rather talk to people than hide behind the screen. Now I'm going to give you a few general tips and ideas, thoughts. Some of you might want to write this down. Some of you might not want to write this down, but I will tell you there's some good stuff in there. And again, I deal with big sales teams, and this is what I do. Number one, treat your sales business, whether you work for somebody, whether you work for yourself, treat it like it's your business. I tell my salespeople, I am your vendor. I provide services for you. It's your business. Treat it like it's your business. What you would, if somebody worked for you, would you accept what you're doing or the excuses or whatever it is? No, you wouldn't. You'd be telling them, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. Do me a favor, stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself the same thing. This is your business to make or break. Number two, it's not what you say, whether it's to a client, to a boss or anything. It's not what you say, okay? It's why and how you say it. I know, going back to the why and how. It's why and how you're saying it and what's going on behind it, okay? It's also when we say it and to who do we say it. Number three, tip number three, get out of the box. Get out of the box. If you have to spend every Monday morning, how am I going out of the box this week? Go out of the box. Stop sitting in the box. The box will limit you. The box will limit you to its four walls. Get out of the box. Whatever it means to your business. Again, I don't know all of your different businesses, so I can't really apply it, but I guarantee you, if you stopped and thought, okay, this week I want to go out of the box, do it on Monday morning. How am I going out of the box this week? I guarantee you will come up with something that you haven't done, haven't thought of, that is different. Do it. Different works. Einstein said the best, and this is my fourth tip, as Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. You've all heard it. But now you're going to hear my twist on it. If you take that coin and turn it over, on the back of it is, if you want different results, you must do different things. So go back to get out of the box, do something different, get it going. Number three, and this was, I'll give you a little background. I was giving a lecture about between 120, 130 salespeople on the sales room for a seminar or whatever. And somebody asked me, what is the best way to get repeat business? What is the best way to get repeat business? The answer, I gave them one line, and I think I literally saw, well, the bosses were all like, oh, this is good stuff. And a lot of salespeople, I saw light bulbs go off in their head. Make sure, listen to this, make sure the only time your client hears from you is not when you want something from them. It's a relationship business, okay? Make sure the only time they hear from you is not when you want something from them. Whether it's a note, whether it's a post deal, hey, by the way, I'm so happy you're happy with your new car, or you're in your new house, or whatever it is you're selling, or you sell to a retailer. Wow, how's the sell-through? There's a lot of different questions you can ask. Make sure they hear about you when it's about them, not about you. Number 6, be interested, not interesting. Nobody cares about your story. Now, I don't want to be rough and say nobody cares about your story, but you know what? Think about it. Nobody really cares about your story. But if you're interested in them, that's something they relate to. So be interested, not interesting. Another thing, number 7, ask questions. The more questions you ask, the better you can understand your client, the better you can speak to them. It's about them. It's not about you. And I don't want to get into a whole, I can get into a whole tangent about that. Literally, we could talk about it for an hour. But remember, ask questions. The more questions you ask, and also listen, don't hear. There's hearing, you're all hearing me. How many of you are actually listening, right? Sit down. I always tell people, sit with a pen and paper. If you want to listen, sit with a pen and paper and write down. Then you're listening, you're absorbing. Listen to their answers, and that'll help you. Number 8 is the reverse, exact reverse. The more questions they ask you, why is this right? How is this product going to work? Why should I deal with you? The more questions that you can elicit from them, the better it is. Because there's a big word, it's called engaged. You can engage your client long enough, you have them. It's up to you, okay? Now, I want to touch on one thing briefly. There's books, there's courses, the seminars, all these things. I'm going to say a big word, and then I'm going to break it down. Useless. Now, God forbid, they're not useless. They're not useless. But if they're taken as books that you buy, you put on the shelf, you read, you breathe through it, and you put it back on the shelf, useless. If you take from every book 1, 2, 3 good ideas, if you take from this meeting, this discussion we're having now, if you take 2 or 3 tips, you're ahead of the game. If you take 1 or 2 tips and you actually do something about it, then it literally, this will be the difference. That's your out of the box. That's your new thing, et cetera, et cetera. But if you just buy it, just to buy it, I have all the books in the world, and you go to seminars and you don't pay attention to them, if you don't listen to what's being said, you don't take the tips, you don't really get into it, they're completely useless. Don't waste your time. Do something you're actually going to benefit from. Okay, now I'm going to give a little question before I go to the last quote of my list of tips. I'm sure you've all heard there are closers and there are openers, right? There are openers and there are closers. One guy says, oh, I'm a great opener, but I can't close. Another guy says, man, I'm a great closer, but I can't open. Okay, you ready for Menashe Opinion 101? It's my opinion. I'm sure people can challenge me on this. Those that can open can close. Those that can close can open. And those that can only do one or the other can do neither. Big words. So anybody's been sitting and falling on this crutch and holding on to themselves, like, yeah, I'm a great opener, but I can't close. I need to learn how to close. Well, guess what? You're either wrong that you can't, or you're wrong that you can. If you can open, you can close. If you can close, you can open. Big words, and I'm, like I said, challenge me anytime you want. And then the number 10 thing. Now, the number 10 thing, this also happened at a seminar where somebody at the end basically raised up and shouted, and asked us, was breaking out already, and said, I have one question for you. He goes, what's the secret to the close? Tell me what's the one phrase, the one word, the one action that I can close more deals. You know what I told him? And this literally explosions happened, and then we spoke for another 20 minutes. The answer is don't close. Don't. And now I'll back it up. If you've answered the why, you've answered the how, you have a relationship with them, guess what? You don't have to close. The client already closed. You might have to have him take an action on a decision he's already made. Sign the paper, get me the paperwork, whatever it is. That's an action on the close. But the close already happened. Okay? So remember, don't chase the close. Chase the client, and the close will happen by itself. That's as far as a few ideas and a few thoughts. Now we're going to go to, where are we? Okay. Now I'm going to give you a couple of things. I want you to think about them, just different ways to think. Again, I'm planting seeds. There's no one answer fits all. And this refers to what my dear friend Mendy was talking about. Let me set the scenario. Let me set the scene. 2016 Olympics, Rio de Janeiro. Michael Phelps and a gentleman named Chad Leclose were competitors for many, many years. Chad Leclose always beat Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps retired. In 2016, he came back to the Olympics, and they faced each other again in the race. And Michael Phelps said, I am going to win this, okay? Blue cap is Michael Phelps, green cap is Chad Leclose. Fact is, Michael Phelps won by 5/100ths of a second, okay? 5/100ths of a second. Now, I ask any one of you, what's the difference in this picture between the two of them? Chadwick Close is looking at Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps is looking at his goal. Don't let your competition derail you. Don't spend time focused. What you spend time is learning about them. Go back to what I originally said. Learn about them, what they offer, etc., how well they do their job. You use that information to focus on your goal. And by the way, on a side note, in 2015, this happened in 2016, in 2018 or 2020, Chadwick Close was interviewed, and he said he still has nightmares about this race. He says he wakes up middle of the night still shaking from this race. Guys, focus on your goals. Do not get distracted. And the next one, this is one of my favorite ones. I'm going to set the stage again, okay? Information, data. Do we have it right? Okay, we all love information. Question is, are we looking at it right? Again, these are things just to think about in a little bit of a different perspective. During World War II, I'll set the stage. During World War II, fighter planes were coming back to England after bombing missions in Germany. Bombers were coming back to fight it, and they had all these holes. You see all the red marks? Those are all the holes. And they started focusing on the patterns, and they noticed the pattern of where the holes are. And they decided that what they're going to do is they're going to reinforce these areas with more armor, right? Makes sense. And along came a guy named Abraham Wald, who was a mathematician. He said, guys, we're looking at it all wrong. The ones with the holes in these places are making it back. The ones with the holes in the other places are not making it back at all. And what they actually started doing is reinforcing all the other places. And guess what? They increased the amount of planes that were coming back. Again, we can have great data. We've got to make sure we're looking at it right, okay? Now, I'll give you another on the sales side of it. Data. Make sure that you have your data right, and you're looking at it right. For the same money, make sure your client has your data and he is looking at it right. He's truly appreciating what it is you do. Okay. And now for the last question, I want to know, can you hit a baseball? Everybody can hit a baseball, right? Okay. I can give you 100 books on hitting baseball. I can give you Derek Jeter's book. I can give you anything you want. Can you hit a baseball with all that knowledge? No. You know how you can hit a baseball? Picking up your bat and standing in the batter's box. Are you going to hit a home run every time? Absolutely not. Remember this, like tennis, like baseball, sales is a performance sport. It's not a knowledge sport. I'm not saying you don't have to have knowledge. You have to know your stuff. You have to know your clients. You have to be an advocate for your clients. You have to know your products, etc. But it's not a knowledge skill. You could be the most genius. I could tell you all the books in the world on how to sell, but you can't sell until you're actually out there. Okay. So do me a favor. Know your products is great, but you got to get out and do it. Now, I want to give you another example. Comedy. Anybody likes comedians? I love comedians. Only one step better than like steaks, but I like comedians. For every comedian has at least 12, on average, 12 writers. Do you know why? Why does one comedian need 12 writers? It's very easy to write a joke. It's not easy to tell a joke. Same thing with sales. It's very easy to read, to know all the knowledge in the world, but it's not easy to do it, okay? So just remember, it's about performance. It's not about knowledge. Okay, now this is something I'm telling you, every single one of you should write down and scribe in your head, bury. This should be something, I would put it on my computer in front of my face. Best advice ever, and with this I'm going to close. Think like a customer. Think like a client. Don't think like a salesman. And when I'm talking about that is think about from the other side of the desk. When you are going to come to you to try and sell you, what's going to make you tick? What's going to make you go with it? What's going to make you say, hey, I want to do this? Okay. And then last seed I want to plant, the last seed I want to plant is keep moving. Just keep moving. You know, life is like going up and down escalator. We've all done it. The minute you stop pedaling, you're sliding back, even if you don't realize it. Number two, you want to be motivated. Going back to the motivation part of it. You want to be motivated? Pick somebody and motivate them. I'm talking to you guys. It's motivating me. You understand? If you're having a run, you're in a slump, you're having a bad day, all that stuff we're getting back to, motivate somebody. Pick somebody to motivate. Pick somebody to pick them up, and it's infectious. It'll turn your day around. Make sure you keep helping others. Make sure you keep positive, keep focused. Focus on your goal. The Michael Phelps, it's great. I love that slide. I show it to everybody. Any one of my teams, most of the guys have it plastered on their walls. And keep your goal front and center. Summation, change the whys to why, change the hows to how. Keep moving, keep motivating, keep doing the most important, and most important, have fun while you're doing it. And with that, I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to ask if there are any questions, comments, challenges, and how can, now that I've gotten all my off my shoulder, how can I help you guys one at a time? Just unmute yourself, ask your questions. I'll be more than happy to address. If you want to ask specific questions, you can ask. Barry, you raised your hand. Why don't you unmute yourself and tell us what's going on?
Hi, first of all, Menashe, this was amazing, every single step of it. And I know a lot of people who are going to want to watch this, even though they couldn't make it to this class itself. Just like absorbing every piece of information, like just makes so much sense.
I'm glad you felt that way. Thank you very much. If you open up.
Oh yeah. You want to see my Shayna Punim? Without
yeah, Shayna Punim. I Yiddish Punim.
Okay, so 2 comments. One question is like, what could you say to the fact that every single person is a salesman? So I see that like not only sales reps need all these things that you're saying. I think like any customer service, even like selling yourself for a position, if you're a software developer, I think this is all valuable information. Just curious what you can, I don't know, how you would deliver that, or what do you say to the fact that using all these skills, even though you're not a straight up salesman. Second question was, you mentioned before that like build relationships with people, build genuine connections, don't make it just about the sale. Do you find, like I find sometimes when I'm talking to someone, like I don't like the whole fluff when it's not real, like just get to the point, tell me what you want. So like, how do you kind of like, find that balance between like, you're calling someone up, like just tell them directly what you want. I want to sell you a loan. I want to sell you insurance, or building a relationship. Personally, if someone calls me up to sell me something, I just like cut to the chase. Like, tell me what you want. I'll tell you yes or no. I don't want to hear you asking me about my dog, my cat, my grandmother. Like, just tell me what you want. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'll listen, and I'm going to tell a little story or 2 stories. The reason why I tell stories, we all hear stories, nobody wants to hear stories, but I'll tell you, guess what? We learn from stories, because with stories we visualize, we engage both sides of our brain. I don't want to get into the whole hocus pocus. We learn from stories. The biggest example of this is our stories. That's how we learn. We're programmed that way. That's the way we learn. So the first thing is, I once stood up in front of an entire company, customer service, warehouse, blah, blah, blah. And I asked, okay, first of all, who here is in sales? And the sales team raised their hand. And I said, who here is not in sales? And the rest of the people raised their hand and said, you're all wrong. You're all in sales. Now, a simple example, when you look at yourself in the mirror before you go out, you say, okay, I look good today. You just sold yourself to yourself. Why? You want a certain image and you say, okay, I fulfill that image. Okay. The idea is everybody has to realize at the end of the day, whatever we're doing, we're selling. And what is selling? Selling is the art of persuasion. The real selling is giving people what they need, fulfilling a purpose, fulfilling, whether it's helping somebody with a mortgage or helping someone with life insurance. You're not selling life insurance. You're helping them secure the future. Again, which comes back to don't chase the close, right? If all you see them as a dollar sign, I promise you, they might not see it on the first day. That's where the whole fluff thing comes in. They might not see it on the first day, but I guarantee you by the time you're halfway through the process, they're going to go, this guy's an ass. Excuse my language. This guy's a schmuck, right? They might still buy from you, but at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about what, and that's what I said, ask questions, understand what it is they need, what's their motivation, and you will fill it. And this I'm going to give you, I have seen this repeated. This is a Menashe original. I take it as a Menashe original because I never heard it anywhere. If you let somebody talk long enough, they're going to tell you exactly what they need and how to sell them. Guaranteed. Let them talk long enough. Now I'm going to tell you a story.
Do you have a book with all these?
Believe it or not, there's about 7 or 8 people who have been after me to write a book. I'm a busy guy. I don't know. But anyway, right? Sitting in my office one day, we had an Israeli office. One of the guys from the Israeli office shows up, barely speaks English. I'm like, hey, Mato, what are you doing over here? He goes, the boss met somebody on a plane. He told them to come down to meet him. We want to do business with him. I'm like, good luck, man. You're going to the middle of Tennessee. You don't even speak English. Like, Menashe, you want to come with me? I said, okay. Get in the plane. We jump on a plane that day, fly out, have an appointment. And I told the guy, do me one favor, don't open your mouth. This is a real country boy, just don't open your mouth. Fine. We go in there, we say hello, we speak. I probably asked about 25 questions. I made 0 statements the entire time. The guy talked for 2.5 hours. At the end, he put his arm around me and said, boy, so this was the most enjoyable sales call I've ever had. We're going to do lots of business. We get out of the car, we get into the car, the guy, the Israeli pulls the key out of the thing, said, you're not getting this back until you tell me what just happened. So I said, I listened to him. I listened, and now I know exactly how to say. My point is, listen, ask questions, make it about them. It's not about you. Your second, so that's as far as now. Everybody's in sales because at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're helping people do their thing. We're helping my boss get his job done. We're helping the customer get his. It's all the same thing. Point is, you have to make them realize. And I actually once did it. I said, if we had the best sales force in the world, but nobody's filling the orders, we're out of business. If we have the filling the orders, but we have nobody purchasing the merchandise, we're out of business. If we have all the merchandise, all the best fulfillment, and we have no sales, we're out of business, right? So that's how I tie the two together. As far as the fluff, Walter Cronkite, I don't know if many of you know him or not, was a brilliant newscaster. He said the best line he ever had, and I'll say it, it's funny, but let's not go there. The answer is, he says, sincerity. If you can fake that, you've got it made. Okay. My point is, you don't have to have fluff to take an interest in what they need. For example, I don't have to call you and ask you about your cat if I want to sell you life insurance, but I do want to know about your goals and about how many kids you have and what's future do you like to secure for them. You understand? It doesn't have to be fluff. It could be to the point. It could be on point about your product, about whatever it is, but it's still about the client, not about you. It's not about you trying to sell them. It's about you finding out what they want.
Okay, man. Very helpful. One comment, I'm saying my favorite Menashe line of this whole webinar is, if you can't be an opener, you can't be a closer. If you're basically, people like to choose either one. Anyways, I love that line.
Because if you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah,
You have to hone your skills. You have to work on some skills. But there's no thing is I can't. You can or you can't. I can only cook half the recipe. I can't cook the other half of the recipe.
Right. All right. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Okay, you can use Mr. Schneier. Unmute yourself.
Yes, how you doing, Menashe? Thank you for the time.
Pleasure.
Presentation. So I have a 2-part unrelated questions. First, you asked for us to kind of jot down quickly what our biggest struggles are. And I think that's time management for myself. Juggling a couple different projects at once. So I'm asking, first of all, tips on how you manage your time and how you can feel like you've put enough time into one project when you know you have a bunch of other ones to do. And if you didn't put enough, how does that work? Keep going on that. And the second part was with regards to sales, not of a product, but for a service. What is that difference for you in process?
Okay, one of my favorite questions, somebody says, do you like the red one or the blue one? And they say, yes, right? Okay, right. So there's a lot of stuff here. I'll give you, first of all, as far as time management, okay? Old saying, one of the oldest business sayings in the world, and for some reason, I don't know why it's not famous. I mean, it's famous, but many people just don't live by it. I live by it all the time. The answer is, how do you eat an elephant? If I put a gun to you that said, eat this elephant, how are you gonna eat it? Or when I'm dealing with Chassidish world, I said, how do you eat the whole cholent? One bite at a time. Mm-hmm. When you have multiple products, when you have multiple situations, multiple projects, you need to break down every project as its own piece. Say, okay, I need to focus on this. I need to focus on this. I need to focus on this. And what you'll find, if you're focusing on all three at the same time, none of them get done. But if you focus on one thing, it gets done, and then you get the next one. This way, every single part has 100% focus on it. Example, easiest example, cleaning your house for Pesach. My wife, my kids, it's so overwhelming, right? It's very simple. One room at a time. Today, I'm doing this bedroom. That's it. You do it. This way, you're 100% focused on that. So all these million things, instead of trying to juggle them all in the world, it's very hard to juggle 20 balls. What happens if you have one ball in your hand at a time? You can throw it up in the air and catch it all day long. Focus it. Now, you have to also prioritize. If you have a project you're working on, but there's another priority, so you know what? Okay, fine. So focus on the priority. Get it done. And then focus on the other one. You really, there's the shotgun approach, which a lot of people like. But in my opinion, I'd rather give me a sniper, one shot. I know exactly the results I'm going to get from it. Focus on it. That's my advice on that. What was your other question again?
The difference between selling a product or selling a service.
Oh, that's what I meant. That's what was the yes.
Yes.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Well, I guess just knowing how to answer those whys and
turn the why into why, turn the how into how. It's very simple. If you can show them the value, like I said, if they're asking questions, that's great. If they've objected, you haven't explained your value proposition. Remember, it's not about you, it's about them. People love talking about themselves. Nobody wants to hear about yourself. They want to hear what you can do for them. And again, I told somebody this morning, if you can make them smell how enhance their bid life, business, whatever it is going to be, you don't have to close. They closed. You just have to make them take action on it.
Thank
Hope
you.
that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? I guess not. Okay. So anybody else, anything to add?
Hi, Menashe. I put my hand over here.
Go for it.
Okay. So say you're selling the product and the guy starts bargaining with you. When does it begin to, where do you stop? It's like you want to make the sale regardless, even if you're going to make a little bit, but you want to make it clear to him that, you know, what, and send, like sometimes I go too low and I'm like, damn, you know, I'd rather not made any money. He took advantage of.
Okay. Now we're going to get into real, this is the deep stuff. Okay. If it's about price, you've already lost. I'll tell you what I mean. You might win it today, you lose it tomorrow. There's always somebody who's hungrier, who's more aggressive, who's willing to do more than you are, even where it doesn't make sense than you are, which means you might not get it today, you might not get it tomorrow, but eventually you're going to lose it. If it's about price, you're going to lose it. Example, if it was only about price, the only store in the world would be Walmart, and the only car would be the cheapest car that's out there. People still drive Beamers, people still drive Rolls Royce, people still shop in boutique stores, right? Why? Because it's a value proposition, makes them feel better, they feel good, it's better quality, whatever it is, right? Whatever the perception is, whatever the reality is. At the end of the day, if it's only about price, you haven't explained your product well enough, you haven't given them the taste. Now, that being said, I have a bottle of milk over here, I have a bottle of milk over there. It's the same bottle of milk, same company, everything. Why should I buy from you? You go to two stores, you live in Crown Heights?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a million stores all over the place. You go into one place to say, hey, how are you? Or remember that milk you bought? They remember you, they treat you like a customer. Versus the other place who doesn't even know you, doesn't care about you. Where are you going to buy?
Yeah, for sure. A friendly place.
My point is now, that's as far as just the relationship part of it. Okay. Now, as far as the actual dollars and cents part of it. What's a buyer? Again, think like a customer, think like a client. What's the buyer's position? What's his job? To get the product at the best price available. You have to understand that, put yourself in his shoes. So you can be aggressive, right? But to a point. At a certain point, you say, guess what? I'm not going across that. And if you lose the business, it's not business you wanted anyway. Give me good business over bad business every day, in my opinion. I don't want bad business. If I'm not making money, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, now, you have to be priced fairly. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the cheapest. You have to be the best. And that's where the relationship comes in. If the store that you felt more comfortable, the guy treated you like treated you nicely, and he was 10 cents more a bottle, you would still buy the milk there. 10 cents more, same bottle, but he treats me like a mensch. I feel good over there. You understand? So at a certain point, you say, it doesn't make sense. I'll give you another side to this. A friend of mine's a contractor, went off on his own, he's doing great work. He had literally projects, and he only takes one project at a time. It's very specialized. He's booked up till April from now. He's booked up till April. Called me up and says, what do I do? Do I bring another crew on? I said, no. Your whole thing is your touch. That's your touch. It's your specialty, right? Don't train somebody else. Do it. What you need to do is raise your prices. It's like, well, I said, no. I'd rather have you booked less at higher prices than book more at lower prices, right? You're in such demand. There's only one of you. Raise your prices. And you'll weed out the people who don't really want. Because what happens is somebody's going to wait until April. By the time they get to April, that emotion that they were wanting in the beginning when they signed it is going to be gone. They're not going to be happy with your work. You understand? So my advice to you is like this. You can give it to them at a point. Now, so I always say like this. You don't have to be the cheapest. You have to be the best. but you also still have to be within the reason. So if everybody's charging you $1 for a bottle of milk, I don't know, it's $1.59, maybe somebody here can tell me what they really cost. X one, let's say a dollar for a bottle of milk, just to grab a round number. And your store is charging $1.10, you'd buy it. If they were charging $2.95, you wouldn't. So you have to be within the range, but you don't have to be the cheapest. But you do have to give them that taste. I've told people, you want to do it that way, go for it. But one of the best lines I ever heard was, if you think an expensive plumber is expensive, wait until you have to see the results of a cheap plumber. That's expensive. Now, you still have to be reasonable. You have to be within the range. But it's not about price. It's about the feeling and the way you address them. And it's about them, not about you. And if you do that, price literally is not an issue. Otherwise, like I said, Walmart will be the only thing. Hope that answered your question.
Yes.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice?
Yeah, me.
Go for it.
Does the product make a difference in the quality of the salesperson? Meaning, as you were saying before, like the pen, can you, if you're a good salesperson, can you actually sell everything, or you need a good product?
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Only because we know each other. A good question. See this pen?
Yeah.
For $5,000. If you sign with this pen, you're gonna get $5,000. You want to pay me $100 for it?
100%.
Okay, there you go. It's a pen. My point is, it's not about the pen, and that really gets back to it. It's not about what you're selling or how you're selling, etc. Yeah, you need to tailor your approach to that, right? But it's really about what the client. It's about the client. And if they see value and they see enhancement and they feel it and they things like that, that again, you don't have to close, right? They see it. It's just a matter of getting them to take action on it. That is a skill in itself. We could talk about it, like I said, for forever. There's a lot of every one of these things you can go on and on and on about, right? But the point is, it's about them. What's going to enhance their lives, enhance their business, help them make money, help them be happier, help them feel better about themselves, all these things. If you can give it to them, does really make a difference if it's a bucket of ice cream when somebody's sad and they want to eat a whole bucket of ice cream to feel good, or it's a fancy dinner that they want to take their wife out and feel good about it, right? Doesn't make a difference. Or it's a computer program that's going to help their business. If it's going to help them and they understand it, they feel it, they taste it, doesn't make a difference.
Amazing.
You know, a hitter hits in little leagues and a hitter hits in major leagues. They're hitters.
Got it.
Anything else? Any questions? Any thoughts? Anybody want to cover something? Schneider, your hand is up or it's still up? You forgot to take it down.
Yeah, it's down.
Okay, good. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Mandy, anything?
Yeah. First of all, thank you everyone for taking your time and in the middle of the day. We know everybody's busy. Thank you, Menashe, for your amazing wisdom.
My pleasure. Anytime, I'll be able to help anybody anytime. Just reach out to me.
Okay, thank you.
Notice I'm not giving you my phone number.
So
notice I'm not giving you my phone number. No.
Oh,
but Mandy knows where to get hold of me.
Yeah, if you ever need anything, please reach out. And yes, thank you again, Menashe, for taking your time and sharing your wisdom, and everyone for also taking part of your time and coming out to learn. And the Mitzvah Shands is going to help grow your business and close more sales, and the Mitzvah Shem, make 100 times more parnasa they're already making. And that is the point. Thank you so much, everyone.
Cultivate the seeds, plant the seeds, water them, give them nurture, and Mitzvah Hashem, you will have tremendous atzlacha. All the best, guys.
All the best.
you.
Bye. Thank you, Menashe.